guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be installing a Midland MXT575 50-watt radio into my Toyota Tacoma. Stick around.
What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. Today I'm going to be installing a product I've been super excited about getting installed on the truck for well over a year now. If you've ever watched any of my trail videos, you know that I always carry my Midland X-Talkers with me. I've had these in my truck, charged up probably hundreds of times at this point. They are an excellent piece of kit that I've added to my kind of off-road arsenal over the years. They're great for just trail riding, they're great for road trips. I don't know what the exact advertised range is on that. I'll drop it right down here if I have time to remember. But today we're talking about a different product, a product that I've been wanting to, like I said, install for quite some time, and it is the Midland MXT575. The Midland MXT575 comes in at kind of the top range of what Midland has on their website for hardwired radios. I know a lot of you who probably are watching this are familiar with the MXT275. That one's already a few years old now, but the MXT575 is one that I was extremely keen to get my hands on. I'm excited to finally be able to bring a video to you all where we get to install it on the truck. Just a few things that I kind of wanted to touch on out the box. We're going to be installing an additional antenna. I think this is coined the Ghost antenna. The MXT575 does come with kind of a larger antenna that's magnetic. Honestly, I think if they don't already, they should probably make a kit that includes everything. So we'll be installing the Ghost antenna over on the passenger side on the hood, and then wiring that all up into the cab of the truck. To be honest, I don't think this is going to require many tools at all. I brought out some zip ties for wiring, some snips for zip ties as well. There's really not a lot going on in here. I will be cleaning up some of the additional wiring in the engine bay with wire loom. That's something I kind of always do for additional wires, especially when you got red popping out everywhere. I want to make it look super nice and as OEM plus as possible. So stick around. I'm going to kind of give us all a little mini unboxing, and then we'll get into kind of installing this in the truck. Super excited. And again, Happy New Year. Consider getting subscribed. All right, so first things first here, I did go ahead and clean the surface where we're going to be mounting the antenna. I prefer Meguiar's Ultimate Quick Wax. Been using it probably for close to 10 years now. I'll live and die by that product. But what I did is I kind of waxed this, and if you can tell, I don't know if you can come out on camera, there's a body line that comes right along here and it ends right about here. So I think that's about how far from the ditch light I want to mount the antenna. So I'm going to get the kind of mount here out, give it a few more kind of rub downs here with the quick wax, and then we'll get this antenna mounted, and that'll be kind of the first part of the whole radio installation. Okay, so I did go ahead and clean the bottom side of the hood here. You can see this is the antenna mount. I'm going to mount it up right about there. I think that's also where the hood brace starts. What's nice is they do include a little Allen key. You can see them right there. And all you have to do is tighten these down. And then I'll show you kind of where I'm tucking this wire as we feed it over to the passenger side, or the firewall rather. All right, so I got all this situated here. I did have a hard time getting these kind of pushed down all the way, or flush towards the hood rather. So definitely something to consider. And I don't know if this is just me or if anyone else has this, but you can see that there's some play between the top of that little pad and the hood, which doesn't really bother me actually. It means that there's less contact between the hood and that pad, meaning there's only really a contact patch there. I kind of prefer it, but if you're OCD about things, you probably want it to sit flush. I don't really mind. And then I did pass the bulk of the wiring through this little section here, and then I'm going to kind of rope it back through here and begin to feed it, like I said, in through the engine bay. So I'm gonna get all that zip tying done and catch up with you all probably in the next few minutes here. As you can see, I've got it all tucked away, starting in that corner, right about here. I fed it down through, and I'll actually show you this. Oh, Morphlate magnetic koozie, highly recommend. I had to pop up this and fed it the wire through, and then if you can't see, that's probably a good thing, because you can see all these zip ties are here to kind of hide the wiring mess I've made, and I've always kind of done a pretty good job of keeping it as hidden as possible. And so I got it tucked up all the way to about here, and then if I grab the end, this is what's going through the firewall. What's nice is you'll actually be able to unscrew this top part. If I can even do this one-handed, probably not. You know, you'll get a much smaller tip to feed through the firewall as opposed to trying to get this colossal thing through there. So I'll get this undone and I'll show you what that looks like here in 2 seconds. So this is the part that I removed, and this now is all that's going to have to fit through the firewall. I am going to try to find additional place or hole grommet to fit things through. There's just a lot going on through this existing grommet. Maybe I'll end up using it already as is, but you can see there a little bit, and it's a little too harsh a light. Anyway, there's just a lot going on. You can see I've kind of cleaned it up with this wiring loom I said I'm going to use for this as well, but there's just, yeah, I don't need to say it again. There's a lot going on. Okay, switching gears here a little bit. I'm moving to the inside of the truck where I'm going to be installing the actual radio itself. So if I take this out of the bag, you'll see that there's a mounting plate already mounted on there. What's nice about this radio compared to some of the other ones Midland makes is you'll see that there's no buttons. There's a USB-C charger on here, but there's no buttons on this thing because everything is going to be in this self-contained radio unit, which is super ergonomic, super nice to hold in the hand. I'm gonna really enjoy using this. And then lastly, we have the power cable. Now, I have a few options today. So these are intended to go to the positive and negative on the battery. I might end up going with that route the first time, but eventually I will probably either tap into a hot fuse that is used for like auxiliary or USB, something like that in the car, or I can simply snip this and go right into my aux beam panel. Because a long time ago, I actually left myself a little radio button there that I was going to use. So we'll see. I'm gonna kind of see how we're doing with the amount of wiring and just daytime and all that. But to start, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some 3M tape on here. You can just pick up a roll of 3M from Ace or something, and kind of line this up here. I kind of am thinking I'm putting it on this side, mainly because, and I don't really talk about this a lot, but I try to keep this as daily driver friendly as possible. I know I have this mount here. It's always kind of a mess when I'm doing installs, but other than that, I do like to drive this every day. My wife likes to sometimes take it, and we go on road trips a lot. And the point I was gonna make is most people put it on this side. And husbands and boyfriends don't give me crap for this. But I don't wanna put it on that side because I know I wanna give my wife and my friends who become passenger as much legroom as possible. So I'm gonna put it over here and see how that goes. If I do end up wanting to change it later on, we can put it over there, but I think I run the risk of someone banging it. Shopping bags, purses, you know, whatever it is. So I don't want to damage that. So I think this is going to be the best mounting place. So I'm going to kind of mount this with just some 3M real quick, and then kind of get in the truck and just see if I have the amount of leg room I want. And then we'll kind of wire it down permanently. But overall, build quality on this MXT575 is awesome. Built-in fan, port for USB-C charging. Looks great. Okay, so I kind of mocked this up. You can see I still have space to drill the holes after, but I did put these big pieces of 3M on here. And then what I'm gonna do, the truck is unfortunately dirty, inside and out, but I'm just gonna kind of clean this surface as best as I can. I don't know if that was the best solution to use. I used additional quick wax, but we'll see how that holds on. It's just for kind of proof of concept and make sure it's in the right spot. And then I'll get in the driver's seat and kind of check for leg room. All right, so this is what the bracket looks like post kind of disassembly. You can see there's, every time I get down on my knee here and I find there's additional wires that always end up kind of wiggling out. And that's from the throttle grenade there. So what I'm gonna actually end up doing is they did provide some hardware here, and I couldn't find the step drill bit that I needed for this. So I'm gonna end up just using some of the supplied screws here and kind of move along that way. And hopefully that sticks mixed with the 3M. I think that should be a pretty solid solution. If anyone else has any better ideas, let me know, but this feels like it's not going anywhere anytime soon. All right, out of the sun into the cab. So you can see here, I have plenty of legroom. I mounted this in a place where it's kind of next to my Black Ops Off-Road throttle grenade. I didn't want it interfering in here. And then of course, a lot of people mount it into the center console, but I got tons of stuff going on in there. So I think this is gonna be great. Even when I have my foot on the gas here, I have room. And if I really needed to move it later on, I will. I'm not gonna keep the mic hooked up there all the time. I'm probably gonna get like a little cover that covers that, because you can find those on Amazon. And if I have a link after I look later today, I'll drop it down below. But yeah, I think that's gonna work really well. I'm just gonna have to slide it back out of the bracket so I can get the bolts tapped in there. But we're well on our way, and we still got the hood open, and the ghost antenna still needs to go on. So we'll kind of keep on moving along here, but so far really loving the quality of these Midland products, and excited to test kind of compatibility with the X-Talker, which is my tried and true trail buddy. All right, looking super clean. Sometimes I do installs and they come out meh, and I just live with it. And sometimes they just start to come along really nicely. And this is exactly what's happening with this one here. So I'm just gonna slide this back into the bracket, and then we'll kind of move forward with more wiring. I wanted to take a quick sec to talk about this because in advance of the full installation, I wanted to show you, every time I see someone running one of these radios, this red power wire always sticks out like a sore thumb, even if I were to kind of tuck this away. So if you can get a hand on some wire loom like this, it's a few feet, got it from AutoZone. I'll show you what that looks like in the box here in a sec. This can go a long way. So that's what I'm going to use to clean that up. And it's also what I used to clean up all of this mess. So you can kind of see what it used to look like under there. But for the most part, I'm trying to clean this up as best I can. So that's what I'm going to be using once we get that tapped inside. And I kind of think we're going to resume this part of the install next and get the antenna mount inside. Before we move on to more of the wiring, I did want to talk about this. This is a little radio mount that Midland included in the kit. I'm going to be placing this right here, actually. I think the line of this mount kind of follows that really nicely, and I will talk a bit more about why I'm putting this here, because I do have another solution that I'll talk about at the end of the video. But for the sake of having a place to hang the mic that's out of the way of the dash view, this is where I'm going to mount this. So I'm just going to see if I can do this. Sometimes these adhesive backings don't cooperate. There we go. And I already wiped this surface down for those of you who are keeping tabs. There we go. And that's where that's going to live for the rest of its life. And pick this up here. It's not too obtrusive. Overall, I think I'm keeping the cab as minimal as possible. Of course, if I remove this, it looks even more OEM, but yep, just trying to keep it daily drivable, yet also weekend adventure friendly. Okay, as it happens with many things, sometimes I just get carried away with the install, forget to update you guys. So I was able to puncture the firewall, so I'm going to go about this the old school way. Went through the firewall right at the front of the driver's side. You will see that I fed it through with the small end, and if I reach over here, I think I will be able to put the it's not a coax cable, but this is what feeds into the back of the unit and gives it the power for the antenna. So I'm just going to gently pull all of the excess through the cab and then kind of tuck it away somewhere else in the footwell area. And just like that, we got this hooked up. I would only recommend using hand tools, or I'm just using my fingers because you do not want to break some connection like this on a unit like this. So let's get this slid back in here real quick. So as you can see, I've kind of collected the excess wire here. And for those of you who may or may not be familiar with the inner workings of almost any Toyota, I guess, is that there's tons of room behind the firewall tunnel here. So that's where I'm going to be tucking the rest of this. It literally, you could stick a stick all the way through to the other side on the passenger side. So there's tons of space back here that's basically unused real estate for me. And I'm trying to make it even cleaner. So I'm going to try to tuck everything. And you can see that even this coax cable, I'm going to have a little bit hanging down, but not too much. And everything else is kind of just hanging up under the dash here. Nothing too crazy though. And then that can all get tucked back. I think that's how it was. I have to double check. There we go. Good as new. I'm gonna tweak on it a little bit, but you get the idea. All right, so before getting into the power section, the last part of the install, I went ahead and put up the mic. This thing's got 10 GMRS channels, I believe, and 8 repeater channels. These are also compatible, like I said, with the FRS radios. I think this is reportedly unobstructed 65 miles of range with the Ghost antenna, which I already kind of mounted up on there. But from some tests I've seen as far or as little as 3 to 10 miles, which is plenty, especially when we're going to be on trails with people in fairly close proximity. So I do have a mount right here. I haven't mounted the rear base plate, but that can mount either up there while I'm out on the trail, or as I mentioned before, I have a little section right here that I'll be able to mount that when it's not in use. And as you might have heard me also say, I don't plan to keep this hooked up all the time. When I'm not driving or when I'm daily driving, I plan to just unhook this, put a little gasket plug on there and call it a day, throw this in the glove box. But overall, it is still fairly minimal. I can't get over how that click is so nice. I can't wait to get this thing powered on and kind of look through some of the features with you here in a second. All right, so contrary to what I thought I was going to do, I disconnected the battery, and I think I'm going to snip everything south of the relays and wire into the switch panel, because I have the switch kind of already labeled here, and I don't really mind the extra capacity. If I ever need to switch back, I can. So I'm going to cut these around here. I've already disconnected the battery, and we'll kind of go from there. And once that's hooked up, I'll reconnect the battery, and we're going to see if everything turns on. All right, so you can see here I've kind of spliced these. If you have yourself a pair of crimpers, a crimper, and it has different gauge where you can kind of splice the wire, that's awesome. What I'm going to do here is do exactly what I did with the coaxial cable and get some tape these together and then try to push them through the same firewall. This is actually the first time I've ever pushed something out of the firewall, so it should be interesting. I'm going to tape this together, actually do it like this over the top. And what I'm doing here is just doing exactly what I did the first time, is create kind of a means to get these wires through the firewall without actually having to ruin the wires, because that's the last thing we want to do is disturb those. Remember, the battery is disconnected. I'm going to pull this little 5 amp fuse out. Probably put that somewhere where we can use it later, because just by nature of how these are set up, we end up swapping fuses all the time. I have a 10 amp fuse, and that's the max draw on the MXT575, but I'm going to buffer that and put a 15 in here, just in case. You can kind of see that's like the only 15 in there, but yeah, looks good. We'll get these two wired into the unit right here, and then connect the battery and fire it up and see where we end up. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to pull the excess back into the cab, but as I've showed many of you before, I like to keep the engine bay kind of clean with all this wire loom. So I'm going to go all the way around here, number 5 on my switch panel, my aux beam, and I'm just going to jam the negative terminal into negative, get that all tightened down, and do the same with the positive. If you didn't go this route and you just opted to go onto the battery terminals, you would simply be hooking these up positive and negative with that additional harness that I showed you I had inside the truck. But we have the extra space on the switch panel here, so I want to use it as best as I can. So once that's all done, I have the 10 amp right here, 5, excuse me. I'm going to put that in the car, probably somewhere in the house. It's always good to keep fuses in case something goes wrong. I am going to add wire loom, as I always do, at a later point in time, just because I want to be cognizant of my time today on New Year's. So close that back up, get everything kind of as clean as possible, and I think I'm going to reconnect the battery now, and fingers crossed that it works. All right, like I said, I took this whole section off of the power cable here, which I haven't cleaned up yet, but I plugged the battery back in, and I am now going to see if wiring it to the switch panel was actually effective. Accessory. So right now, I'm not getting power, but if I hit radio, There we go. And it's working. Let's see what we got. But you can also cut the power on the switch panel. And what's nice about having the switch panel, I know some people say, oh, Nick, that's redundant. It's basically a fail-safe if this ever tried to pull battery or drain the battery. So this is basically what you do on here. And turn on there. So if you turn on here, this isn't going to power back on. So very cool setup there, and happy I have that switch panel to get everything to work. And thank you to my beautiful wife for filming. I'm actually wildly surprised and proud of myself right now. I didn't think that was going to work.
Because I'm here.
She's here. I didn't think that was going to work.
It did.
All right, that was a little segment my wife came out and helped me film. But since then, I've kind of got everything situated the way I want. The power wire is kind of tucked away over there. I'm about to add some loom for the interior. And then out here, everything is tucked away and nice and clean. The only thing that is exposed and really kind of an eyesore is really this wire here. I may do that off camera just for myself, but you can kind of get the idea. I add this additional wire loom here, and it really just kind of cleans up the engine bay without having some excess red wire hanging around there. This one is kind of just the only other one, but it's a short stubby for the rock lights, so I won't be looming that. Other than that, took some time to clean up the OEM battery. We're on year 5, or no, we're on over 6 years with this battery. Don't ask me how that is happening. And then I've got the ghost antenna mounted right here. I'm going to tweak on this a little bit more before wrapping up the video, and then I will show you just some more functions on the little remote that we kind of skipped over real quickly when Jordan was filming. But overall, without filming being involved, this is such a simple install. I think this is like a 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 tops if you're unfamiliar with just general wiring and working on vehicles. So yeah, pumped. Okay, got the engine bay all cleaned up. The radio, or excuse me, the antenna, actually ended up adding a little square of 3M under there, kind of keep it a little bit more secure. I did kind of clean the engine bay while I was in here today, and then you may be able to tell I did already add that wire loom just to be kind of ahead of it on the game. I knew I probably wouldn't get back to it till a later point in time, but yeah, that's all she wrote. So something a little unfortunate here. For some reason, this center bolt where the mount for the radio that'll go either there or up here is completely stripped. I tried using a better bolt. The original one that came in there was blue Loctited and it was loose. So what I'm doing here is simply adding some 3M, and hopefully that'll solve solve everything. If that doesn't, then I'll end up going to like a super glue. I don't know. This is probably not going to happen to everyone. I'm not going to fault Midland for this issue. It's just, you know, sometimes luck of the draw with products. Depends on how long it was standing on the shelf, things like that. So I'm going to get these all tapped in, and then we should actually be pretty good to go here. Catch you some B-roll of everything as well. There we have it, you guys. So that was my very detailed, taking my time, Midland MXT575 install. I think without filming and making a video about this could have been an hour, hour and a half tops install. Instead, it's taken me about 3, but that's because I went through, measured everything twice, did the wire looming, kind of decided how I was going to mount everything, and I'm very happy to report that I think I went the right route. If you have the ability to wire a radio into a switch panel and you have an available space there, why not use it? If later on you decide, oh, well, we don't want to use that space for the radio anymore, you can always go back and remove it. But I think for now, I think the way I have the truck set up is getting more and more dialed as we head into the new year. and it's only been about 24 hours almost. So super pumped on that. Thanks again to Midland for sending out this unit for me to test and install in the truck. I know that we'll be using it very, very soon here on the trail. If you haven't checked them out, I'll leave a link to their website down below. They got tons of good products. Like I said, I've been using their little X-Talkers for years, so it's been awesome. If you're new here to the channel and this is your first video you're seeing, I kind of do videos, Tacoma adventure related DIY reviews, installs. It says it all in the intro. But if this sounds like something that you're interested in, go ahead and get subscribed, comment down below, let me know you're here, say what's up, give this video a like. And until next time, Happy New Year, enjoy the ride.